A chill dinner party turns into a total life flip, secret glances, a dance that feels way too electric, and a confession that could wreck everything. I'm Sarah, 60, retired, and totally blindsided when my quiet world gets shaken up. What's a random coffee shop meetup got to do with it? And why is my garden suddenly the spot for the wildest truths? Stick around. You won't believe where this roller coaster's headed. Hey guys, don't forget to smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe to keep up with our wildest stories. I never thought a chill dinner party could flip my whole world upside down. At 60, I'd settled into a sweet groove. Retirement life was my jam. Mornings messing around in the backyard with my flowers, afternoons curled up with a juicy historical novel, and quiet nights sipping tea with my husband, John Carter. We'd been hitched for over 30 years, and I figured the days of jaw-dropping surprises were long gone. Boy, was I wrong. It all kicked off with a Friday night dinner invite from John's old work buddy, Mike Davis, and his wife, Emily. Mike was this sharp 45-year-old dude, total charmer with a head of slick gray hair that popped against his dark skin. He had this vibe that could light up a room, always rocking a faded denim jacket and sipping coffee like it was his lifeline. We'd hung out with them a few times at company picnics. Nothing deep. Emily, though, she was the real deal. Warm, classy, and rocking a messy bun that somehow looked perfect. She had this knack for making even a basic meal feel like a party. Their place was this cozy suburban colonial. Think trimmed bushes, a front porch begging for a rocking chair, and a vibe that screamed, welcome. We rolled up, and soft jazz spilled out from hidden speakers, mixing with the smell of garlic and herbs wafting from the kitchen. Candles flickered on the dining table, throwing golden shadows across walls painted in creamy beige and dusty blue. The whole setup was so warm, I felt my shoulders drop instantly. Come on in, Sarah. So stoked you're here, Emily called out, her voice smooth like the music. She pulled me into a quick hug, her dark skin glowing under the soft light, and I couldn't help but grin. Thanks, Emily. Man, it smells unreal in here, I said, soaking it all in. The four of us plopped down at the table, and Mike poured wine, his deep voice spinning hilarious stories about his latest trip overseas. Laughter bounced around easy, and John was in rare form, grinning wide, finally free from his soul-crushing job. Dessert hit the table, a chocolate mousse so good it should have been illegal, topped with fresh raspberries. Mike caught my eye across the table. Sarah, John says you're a wizard with plants. My roses are crying for help. Got any tips? I chuckled, brushing my bangs out of my face. Something I do when I'm flattered. Wizard? Nay, just stubborn. But I'd love to check him out. His gaze lingered a beat too long, and a weird warmth crept up my neck. I shook it off. Probably just the wine, right? After dessert, Mike slid open the patio door, and we stepped into the night. Moonlight washed over the deck, a cool breeze rustling the trees and carrying the sweet scent of jasmine from Emily's garden. John and Emily stayed inside, yapping about beach getaways, while Mike led me to his sad little rose bushes, strung with twinkly lights. He crouched down, peering at the leaves, and waved me over. Check this out. See how the edges are going yellow? His voice dropped, softer now, like he really cared. I leaned in, suddenly hyper-aware of how close we were. My pulse kicked up a notch. Might need a little more nitrogen, I said, forcing my tone to stay chill. Mike turned to me, his face serious but kind. You know, Sarah, I'm kinda jealous of you and John, 20 years in, and Emily and we're just not clicking like we used to. His raw honesty hit me like a freight train. Every couple's got highs and lows, Mike. That's normal, I managed, trying to sound wise. He nodded, staring at the ground. Maybe, but lately, it feels like something's off. Didn't mean to weird you out. I froze, torn between bolting and staying, but something in me softened. It's cool, I said quietly, surprising myself. You're just keeping it real. He looked up, gratitude softening his sharp features. We sat there for a sec, the air thick with this unspoken vibe. Nothing crazy, just heavy. I felt seen, truly seen, in a way I hadn't in forever. Stepping back inside was like waking up from a dream. John's goofy smile greeted me, steady as ever, but now it carried a weight I couldn't quite pin down. I flicked my eyes across the room at Mike, catching how he'd pulled back into his shell, keeping things polite but distant. The night wrapped up smooth enough, but my brain was a mess, buzzing with the weird, electric vibe of what just went down. Later, as John snored softly next to me, I stared up at the ceiling, my heart doing flips. Was I just flattered by some random attention, or had Mike flipped a switch on something I didn't even know was still alive in me? Could one tiny moment really shake up the calm, cozy life I'd built over decades? It hit me, half uneasy, half curious, that our chill, predictable routine suddenly felt like it was missing a spark. But under all that chaos, I could feel something waking up inside me, like a shy little flower catching the first rays of sunlight. Delicate, but totally real. I didn't get it yet, but that random dinner was just the start of something big, a wild ride toward figuring out who I really am. A path lit up by quick glances, quiet vibes, and this unspoken thing tying me and Mike together. What was coming next? It'd push every limit we'd ever set, making us face stuff we'd dodged for way too long. And trust me, you're not gonna believe what happened after that night. The days rolled on, and on the outside, my life looked the same. Morning strolls through my flower beds, afternoons with iced tea and a good book, evenings cuddled up with John watching cheesy old flicks. But under that comfy routine, a restless itch was creeping in. I kept replaying that patio moment, Mike's hand brushing mine, his real talk confession. Every time I thought about it, it kicked up feelings I hadn't touched in forever. It had been ages since anyone made me feel so noticed, even just for a second. But that buzz came with a side of guilt that wouldn't quit. John's my guy, my ride or die, and I love him to death. Still, something about Mike's raw honesty had poked a spot in my heart I'd let gather dust. One bright afternoon, I was out back, lost in my head, snipping dead blooms off my prized roses. The garden's my happy place, usually all peace and quiet, but today, my mind was a tornado. "Sarah, you've got company." John's voice boomed from the porch, snapping me out of it. I turned, and my stomach did a flip. Mike was standing there next to John, rocking a faded green flannel and jeans, his dark skin catching the sun just right. He had that coffee cup in hand, like always, and a cautious but warm look in his eyes. My pulse shot up, but I played it cool, flashing a steady grin. "Hey, didn't mean to just pop in," Mike said, stepping closer, slow and easy. "Wanted to chat more about those roses, but if you're tied up, no worries." "Nah, you're good," I shot back quick, my voice giving away a little too much excitement. John chuckled, totally clueless about the quiet storm brewing between us. "I'll let you plant nerds figure it out," he said, heading back inside with a grin. Me and Mike stood there, the air heavy with stuff we weren't saying. Birds chirped away, oblivious to the sparks practically bouncing off us. Finally, Mike cleared his throat, breaking the standoff. "Sarah, I gotta say sorry again for the other night," he started, his voice low and real, every word dripping with heart. "I overstepped, and it's been eating me up." I looked him over, catching the honest nodded slow, then took a half step closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. But something did go down. We both felt it. My breath hitched as his gaze locked onto mine, steady and serious. I know it's messed up, Sarah, and I've tried brushing it off, but I can't get you out of my head, he admitted, barely loud enough to hear. I haven't felt a vibe like this in years. A warm rush hit me hard, then flipped to total confusion. Mike, I'm married, happily married, I said, keeping it firm. I get it, he replied, gentle as ever. I'd never want to mess up your world, but I had to tell you, you woke something up in me I thought was long gone. For a second, the world went quiet, just the leaves rustling above us. My heart was pounding, torn between sticking by John and this crazy pull toward Mike's realness. I looked away, emotions slugging it out inside me. I appreciate you being straight with me, I said, my voice steady despite the chaos within. I appreciate your honesty, I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. And yeah, your words hit me hard, but we can't go there. It's not right for anyone. Mike let out a shaky breath, clearly wrestling with himself. He reached out slow, his hand wrapping gently around mine. It was warm, steady, and my fingers curled into his without thinking. I respect that, he said soft, his dark skin catching the sunlight filtering through the trees. All I want is your friendship, Sarah. If that's all we've got, I'm good with it. I nodded, but the fire in his eyes told a different story. Friendship, I repeated, letting his hand slip away. That's it. The next few weeks were a quiet mess inside me. Mike and I traded texts, little stuff about plant hacks or the latest rain forecast, sticking to the safe zone. But every ping from my phone had me on edge, equal parts hyped and freaked out. One night, John dropped a bomb, all casual. Hey, Mike and Emily are coming with us to that big downtown gala thing. My heart did a backflip at the thought of seeing Mike again, this time in a packed room where hiding our vibe might be a real trick. The night rolled in, and the ballroom was popping. Soft tunes, twinkling lights bouncing off crystal chandeliers, and sharp-dressed folks chatting it up. John led me in, his hand resting easy on my back, steady as ever, totally blind to the storm churning inside me. I spotted Mike right away across the room, rocking a black blazer and his usual coffee cup, his eyes locking onto mine like a magnet. Boom, my chest lit up. Dinner was smooth, the four of us laughing and swapping stories. But under the table, Mike and I were playing a secret game. Quick glances, tiny smiles, loaded with way more than friendly vibes. After plates were cleared, folks hit the dance floor. John, ever the champ, offered Emily a spin with a grin, and they twirled off under the glowing lights, leaving me and Mike solo. We froze for a sec, then he held out his hand, voice low and smooth. "Wanna dance?" Nerves hit me like a wave, but I slid my hand into his, letting him pull me out there. My heart was hammering as we swayed, the crowd fading until it was just us. "You tell me you look amazing tonight," he whispered, his voice warm, cutting through the noise. My cheeks burned, my throat tightening. "Mike," I started, soft, feeling the edge we were creeping toward. We said just friends. He eased back a bit, eyes deep and locked on mine, serious but soft. "Being friends doesn't mean I can't see how awesome you are, Sarah, or that I can't care about you, a lot." We kept moving, close enough to feel dangerous but safe too, my head yelling stop, while every part of me wanted to lean in. The song faded, and we stood there, eyes hooked, quietly owning the line we'd just stepped over. "I shouldn't feel like this," I said, voice wobbly, "but I can't shake it." Mike brushed my cheek, his fingers sparking tingles down my spine. "Me neither. but I'll stick to whatever you want. I promise." I pulled back, heart heavy with want and doubt, thankful for his chill, but rattled by the heat we both knew was there. Back with John, I slapped on a smile, hiding the big question eating at me. How long could I keep this under wraps? That night was just the start, pushing our tightrope vibe into something wilder, a twist so crazy it'd flip our lives upside down. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming. Weeks dragged on, piling up this quiet ache and confusion in me. I tried drowning it in yard work, morning jogs, and taco nights with John, but Mike's words kept bouncing around, waking up pieces of me I'd ignored forever. One rainy afternoon, I was chilling in our snug living room, flipping through old pics, when my phone buzzed. My pulse jumped. I knew it was him. Mike's text was short, but hit like a truck. "Sarah, can we talk?" "I'll keep it real." "It's big." Mike's text finished, and my breath caught, nerves crashing into a weird hype I couldn't shake. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen, then typed back, "Yeah, where?" He picked a low-key coffee joint on the edge of town, safe, public, but private enough to keep things respectful for John and Emily. My heart was slamming as I agreed, guilt gnawing at me, but I had to know what was up. The cafe hit me with a warm hug of coffee smells and soft chatter as I stepped in. Mike was already there, tucked at a corner table, his dark skin glowing under the dim lights, hands gripped tight around his usual coffee cup. His faded denim jacket hung loose, and his eyes, they were intense, like I'd never seen. "Thanks for coming, Sarah," he said low, nodding me to sit. He looked wired but locked in, his vibe dead serious. "What's going on, Mike?" I asked, barely keeping the shake out of my voice. "Everything okay?" He sighed deep, running a hand over his short graying hair, his dark eyes heavy with something rough. "Emily knows," he said, and my stomach flipped hard, panic spiking. "Knows about us?" He nodded slow. "She picked up on something at the gala, cornered me yesterday. I couldn't dodge it, Sarah. I spilled it all. How I feel, our talks, even though we haven't crossed any lines." Ice shot through me, my chest locking up. "Mike, what do I even say?" "You don't have to say a thing," he cut in, soft, his eyes begging me to hear him. "But Emily and I talked it out. We agreed I had to lay it all out with you, figure out what's next." "What's next?" I echoed, my voice thin, dread creeping in about losing the quiet life I'd guarded so long. Mike slid his hand over mine, steadying my shaky fingers. His touch was warm, grounding, but it cranked up the chaos inside me. "I told Emily I'd roll with whatever you decide," he said, voice steady. "If you want to shut this down, I'll back off, no questions. But if you're feeling even a piece of what I am, we gotta face it, for real." His raw honesty hit me like a wave, and tears stung my eyes as I scrambled for words. "Mike, you've stirred up stuff I thought was long gone. But John, he's been my rock for over 30 years. He squeezed my hand, his dark eyes soft with understanding. "I get it, Sarah. I'd never push you to mess that up. But can you look me in the eye and say this thing between us isn't real? Doesn't it deserve at least a nod?" My heart was tearing itself apart, loyalty to John slugging it out with this pull to Mike. Deep down, he was right. This quiet, crazy connection we'd built wasn't going anywhere. We owed it to ourselves, and John and Emily, to stop pretending. After a long beat, I spoke, voice wobbly but real. "I can't pretend I don't feel it. You've woken up parts of me I forgot were there, but the idea of hurting John, it scares me to death. And Emily, I don't want to wreck her either." Mike nodded, his face carved with the same worry. "I feel you, but I think ducking the truth screws us all more in the end. Coming clean's the only way we sort this out. We sat there, soaking in the heavy quiet. Outside, rain tapped the windows, soft and steady, matching the storm in my head. "I've got to talk to John," I whispered finally, relief and terror mixing in my gut. "He deserves the real deal." Mike gave my hand one last squeeze, letting go slow. "Whatever goes down, Sarah. I'm here. Friend or more, no pressure. You're not in this alone." We split with a quiet vibe, emotions all tangled but sharp. Driving home through the misty gray, I ran through the convo I was dreading, but knew I couldn't skip. John had to know, even if it stung. That night, after dinner, we were chilling in the living room, him on the couch, me pacing by the window. I sucked in a breath, heart pounding like a drum, and turned to him. "John, we need to talk," I started, my voice shaky with nerves. He folded his newspaper, peering up at me, his light brown eyes curious but calm. "You okay, Sarah?" I swallowed hard, locking onto his familiar, steady gaze. "Something's been going on lately. Nothing's happened, like, for real, but I've been feeling something for someone else, and it's messing with me." His face shifted fast, confusion flipping to a quiet hurt, his voice low but steady as he took it in. "Mike." John's voice was soft but tight, his light brown eyes narrowing as he pieced it together. I nodded slow, guilt squeezing my chest like a vice. "Yeah." He let out a long breath, staring off into space, calm but hurting. "I caught something at the gala. The way he looked at you, the way you looked back." Tears slipped down my face as I rushed out. "I never wanted this, John. You're my whole world. I love you. But this thing with Mike, it's flipped a switch inside me, something huge, and I couldn't keep it from you." He watched me, quiet sadness pooling in his eyes, then reached for my hand, catching me off guard with how gentle he was. "Thanks for not hiding it, Sarah. That means something." His words threw me. Guilt hit harder, but I was stunned by his vibe. "John, I'm so sorry," I choked out. He shook his head, voice low but steady. "Don't say sorry for feeling stuff. 30 years is a haul. Love shifts, people change. I get it. You deserve the truth, and so do I." My heart cracked open, floored by his kindness. "I'm lost here. I don't know what's next," I admitted, voice shaky. John squeezed my hand, letting out a deep sigh. "Take some time. Figure out what you really want. Whatever it is, I just want you happy." His grace wrecked me, gratitude and sadness crashing together. Right then, I saw how solid we really were, built on his crazy respect for me. We sat there, the living room clock ticking soft, reminding me how wild and fragile life can get. Whatever I picked, John's big heart had just blown the doors wide open. As the night melted into a quiet dark, I knew the tough calls were still coming. The road ahead, total mystery. But spilling the truth had cleared the fog, a real shot at figuring myself out. And trust me, nothing could have prepped me for what hit next. A bombshell that'd flip all our lives for good. After that raw talk with John, the weeks felt like a dream you can't wake up from. Everything teetering between old comforts and a big, blurry what now. John and I started talking real. Feelings, fears, dreams. Like we hadn't in forever. Crazy thing. Being straight up brought us closer, even with no clue where we'd land. Mike and Emily were sorting their own mess, hitting up counseling to untangle their feelings. Me and Mike agreed to chill, keep some space so we could think straight without any pressure. One sunny afternoon, I was out in my garden, my go-to spot for headspace, clipping roses in my beat-up straw hat. John strolled up, 2 steaming mugs of tea in hand, his light skin catching the golden light. He plopped down next to me on the bench, handing me one. "Sarah," he started, sipping his tea like it was no big deal. I've been thinking a ton. I peeked at him, catching the strength and soft spots in his face. Me too. He flashed that warm, familiar grin that always settled me. Hit me with this. Our marriage. It's love. Yeah, but it's also friendship, respect, the real stuff. Maybe after all this time, we gotta give each other room to chase what lights us up, even if it shakes things up. Tears welled up at how open he was being. What are you getting at, John? He took my hand, his grip tender, eyes dead serious. I'm saying I love you enough to let you figure out what's real for you, even if that's exploring whatever's up with Mike. You deserve to be happy, Sarah. We both do. My heart twisted, hit hard by his words. Sitting there, surrounded by my roses swaying in the warm breeze, it clicked. Life's like this garden. It takes guts, patience, and letting stuff grow however it needs to. Relationships. They're not just habits or promises. They're about keeping it real, caring deep, and respecting each other. Sometimes, the stuff that looks impossible at first is exactly what gets you where you're supposed to be. I glanced toward the house, where John was kicking back with Mike and Emily, their laughs floating over on the wind.